Good evening, how you doing? My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. We're slightly 24 hours later than normal for the Tuesday clinic, so it's just going to be the Arsenal clinic this week. It's going to be a great show, so please stay with me. So I say this is going to be the Arsenal clinic this week on Wednesday. There's a lot to get through. Obviously, there was a big game at the weekend against Liverpool. We're going to look at that, look back on the good and the bad of that game, and talk about stuff related to that as well. Obviously, we've got another game this Saturday, early kick-off against Newcastle at the Emirates, so we're going to look at that as well. Obviously, bottom of the league, Newcastle, but they're certainly looking up. Things are looking up for them maybe than they were a little while ago. We're going to go back in time as well. We're going to do a usual archive season. This one's a season that maybe many people may want to forget, 94, 95, but there's a few things to talk about in that season as well. And we're also going to look at the predictions, of course, for this weekend in the Premier League as well as normal. So loads coming up. So let's get started. So we've got a full house back again for the first time in a few weeks due to various different things going on. We have got the usual panel. Great to have all the guys back. First of all, of course, Melvyn, how you doing? Well, welcome back to the show again.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's good to got my old boots on now. I've cleaned my boots. I'm ready for tonight.
Yeah, we've got the famous back four, of course, as we like to say. Adam, of course, as well. Back again. You all right, Adam?
Yeah, all good, all good. Glad to be back after a little hiatus of an international break, but yeah, raring to go.
Good stuff. And of course, Dawsey as well. How you doing, Dawsey? Nice shirt again.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, good. All right. Still recovering after the game a little bit, but yeah, we'll run through it in a bit more detail. But yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate.
Yeah, it was a difficult weekend. We haven't had too many difficult weekends for a while, so maybe it's makes a bit of a change. But we do, unfortunately, or well, you know, unfortunately, everyone look at it. We can only one place that we can really start, and that is, of course, at Anfield. So, of course, we did maybe go into this game with a little bit more optimism in recent visits to Anfield due to our unbeaten run and various other things. Liverpool maybe not in the best form before the international break. But unfortunately, in the end, it kind of went the same way that pretty much every other game away at Liverpool's gone in recent years for one reason or another. I mean, it was, in a way, for me, it was a little bit surprising the way that we lost in the second half. But ultimately, when you think about it, maybe it's not that surprising because it happens so often. I mean, Melvyn, what did you make of it? I mean, before the game, I think we all maybe felt that this was going to be different, that maybe we could compete with Liverpool, not necessarily beat them, but maybe give them a bit more of a game than we have done, certainly in recent years.
I didn't expect us to let in 4 goals and could have let in 6 or 7. I didn't expect that at all. I mean, we should nickname ourselves not the Gunners, the windscreen, because we get a crack and it all seems to splinter, doesn't it? Just one little crack in the game and everything falls apart. Up to the 30th minute, things were going fine. You know, we had a couple of chances. They did as well. Thank God for our goalkeeper. But you could see if we nicked the goal, I think they might have panicked a bit. I really do, because they'd lost the week before. The crowd was quiet. If's a very big word, I know, but it could have happened. And I think that really, as 2 forwards up front, a couple of times we looked at a good progression towards their goal. Looked like we had them on the back foot. And their final pass from the forwards as well, if you like, a couple of Lacazette passes went nowhere when he just had to play someone in, and Aubameyang as well for that matter. And it's a shame because I think we could have nicked the goal to go 1-0 up. It could have happened. It wasn't. Listen, there was up to the 30th minute. It was 5-4 in Liverpool's favour. Obviously, after half time, it was 10-1, wasn't it? And it's a shame that happened. And it turned. They reckon it turned on the Arteta thing. It probably did. But like I've probably said before, I don't necessarily blame him I blame the experienced players on the pitch that never got in the referee's ear what was going on. They were leaving their footing, especially Mane. I'm not saying they didn't deserve a beat, yes they did, 100%. But when you've got that advantage, knowing you can do what you like and get away with it, and you're getting frustrated, it takes a little bit out of you. You're looking like you're it's not, things are not fair, and you're not concentrating on the game. And I think that's what happened there. And I think Arteta might have been frustrated what he saw was going on, and saw that no one on the pitch was taking responsibility. You can't expect the youngsters to do that. You've got to say one of the captain or the seasoned professionals go, hold on a minute, this ain't right. Get in the refs here. Give a little bit back to Mane if you like, without being silly, just to let him know, that he is known of what he's doing, and don't let him get away with it. And it might have changed the game. I think the game changed on. It changes on the sixpence. And that free kick we gave away, stupid free kick by Aubameyang, absolutely stupid. The guy was running towards our midfield and defence. He wouldn't, he's a great cross from Liverpool. You do not want to give him the chance to cross a ball from that distance, from that angle, anytime soon. And it's very disappointing for a change of our right back and our centre half, who we've been drooling about the last few weeks. The two of them couldn't pick up Mane. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to pick him up, but one of them should have had him in his sights. And in fact, with all Gabriel, who's been superb since he's come back, he was facing his own goal. How can a defender be facing his own goal from a free kick? He got in the most stupid of positions. It was a bit Holdering-esque, in my opinion. If Holding had done that, I'd have been jumping up and down. Typical Holding, what you're doing. You don't know where your player is. But it was Gabriel, and I think he got away with it with the fans because he's been playing so well. But I think it's a very, very big mistake and a big situation, turning point on the game. Big pivot on the game that was.
No, I agree. I mean, the first goal was always going to be massive in this game. Like you said, Liverpool maybe were lacking a little bit of confidence because they hadn't come in the game with the best form, and we were on a good run. And if we had got ourselves in front, then who knows? It would have definitely changed the game, and we'll never know what would have happened. But it certainly would have been a different outcome in terms of the final score. If that had been the case, it would have been a different game. But yeah, I mean, it was. For me, a little bit, and I mean, Adam, I don't know what you kind of thought, but for me, it was like in recent games, it seems as though we've generally got the job done early. And if we don't get the job done early, we spoke about this before, we don't seem to have any ideas. And I felt as soon as we went behind, I wasn't able to change anything to affect the game anymore. And of course, as soon as we conceded the second goal, then that was it, wasn't it? We were never going to get back in. I mean, some of the substitutions he made later on, bringing El Neni on and Maitland-Niles, when you're losing the game without scoring a goal, I mean, I don't know. I mean, did you feel as though a little bit still that's my biggest worry is that Arteta isn't able to change a game significantly. I can't remember us going behind in a game and coming back and winning. Very, very rarely in the second half of that. If we concede a goal early, I think we did at Leicester last season and Tottenham at home, and we came back. But in the second half of a game, if we're losing at half time, I can't remember us ever coming back and getting a result because he doesn't seem to be able to change it enough in the right way to influence the game from an attacking sense, does he?
No, I mean, for me, that's probably the biggest question mark over Arteta for me is his in-game management. He sets the team out of a certain way, but like you just said, there's been very few moments, if any, where tactics have been changed in the middle of the game or at half time that have made a massive difference. For me, it's like, this is the way we're going to play against this team. That's it. And, people always said Wenger didn't have a plan B, and probably Arteta doesn't really have a plan B yet, maybe because of the type of players. But yeah, I think that's still a massive question mark for me, the in-game management. Because, Gareth Southgate, I think in England is very similar. He's questionable in-game management as well when England are playing. So, when in the Euros, for instance, when things weren't going well, he couldn't change it. So, is this the new type of manager? I don't know. But the top managers are able to do it, aren't they? The top managers are able, to make those changes, off the foot and off the cuff. And unfortunately, I don't think he's quite got that yet. Or maybe you never will. Who knows? But with the Liverpool game, I wasn't shocked. Don't get me wrong. Even when we lost 4-0, I was disappointed, but it didn't really shock me, unfortunately. And I hate to say that. I felt if we could have got in half-time 0-0, we might have had a better chance, because, Liverpool got their towels up then, didn't they? They got the goal before half-time, and then they come out the second half and all guns blazing. So I thought that first goal was pivotal. And I think you're right, what Melvyn said, the crowd was really quiet at Anfield, and that very rarely happens. And they didn't get noisy until like Arteta and Klopp had that argument, did they? And that's when the crowd, got behind them, and then Liverpool just seemed to all of a sudden wake up. So I don't really, Mane for me does give it a little bit, but I didn't think it was a terrible foul on Tomiyasu. It's a kind of fair ball. He didn't really elbow him, so it was something out of nothing as well. But yeah, I was disappointed, after we had been playing, and I felt that some of the games we've won recently, we'd shown that togetherness, like people fighting for each other, just disappeared a little bit against Liverpool, and that's what disappointed me. The fact the fight just went, and I thought that's something that we'd worked on really well this year that just disappeared.
Yeah, no, I agree. It did seem to be that second half, didn't it? As soon as things started to, and I've kind of mentioned this before, because we have got quite a young, inexperienced side. When things go against us, we don't really have the leaders on the pitch to gel it all back together again. And we've, as Melvyn said before, we fell apart quite badly in that second half. And I think that's one of the reasons why. And that's a little bit of a concern for me. I mean, I know, we look at stats sometimes, but we picked up 49 points in the last 24 games last season after Christmas with, what everybody said wasn't Arteta's team. He's now got what many people consider more like his team. Yes, it's still in the early stages, but we're not. What he should have done for me is built more around that team he had, rather than almost starting again or getting a whole new defence in and going to start again, rather than building on that 49 points we got in the second half of last season and trying to push on. It doesn't seem to have happened yet. We seem to almost having to start again. It's almost like that was a waste of a half a season in a way. All those improvements. Now half of them players don't play anymore. They're sitting on the bench. Cedric, Holding. I'm not saying they're good enough players, but we did get good results with them in the team in the second half of last season. I mean, Dawsey, I know you're, I know you're a big supporter of Arteta, rightly so, probably because he's not doing badly, I suppose. But what was your feelings about the game on Saturday? Because it was a bad way to lose in the end, wasn't it? I think we probably expected us to lose to a certain degree, but the way we lost, that was bad, wasn't it?
First of all, what I will say is I was out and about Saturday night, so I did watch the game, but I was on the beers at the same time. So obviously I was watching it with a couple of Liverpool fans as well, which wasn't nice. But I didn't expect us to get anything from the game. And again, to a certain degree, I think everybody's blowing it a little bit out of proportion, in my opinion. It's nothing to do with what Arteta's done. For me, I'd written that game off before we even kicked off, so I wasn't expecting. My own expectations for the game wasn't to get anything really. I was disappointed by the goals we conceded, and I agree with bits of what everybody said tonight, that the way we crumble it isn't great. But like you said, Richard, it goes back to the leadership on the pitch, and we've spoken about that for a long time. And even before Arteta came in, that leadership on the pitch just isn't there. Would Granit Xhaka have made a difference? Quite possibly with his leadership. He's probably one of the only few that's really got that proper old school kind of leadership skills with squad. So maybe that would have made a difference having him there. But listen, we've gone down the route of youth, and that goes to the manager as well. These guys, all of them are going to make mistakes. And when you say about Arteta's in-game management, it is poor in some games. But he's learning on the job like everybody else is. So the only way he's ever going to learn from these situations about going to Anfield and losing 4-0 is by having that experience. None of us like it, but that's the reality of what we're in. We're going to have results like that, unfortunately. When we go to the Etihad and when we go to Stamford Bridge, we're probably going to experience similar results. But the squad and the manager are learning, and it's a case of there are going to be bumps in the road. And for me, if we go on to win Saturday, I don't care about Liverpool away. I'm not bothered about that. It's now about how the team bounces back. And if we can go on, not necessarily another 10-game unbeaten run, but now try and put 3 or 4 games together, and just try and build from that again. Because not many people are going to go to Anfield and get a result this season. Not many people at all. You're probably looking at, bar freak results, you're looking at City and Chelsea, really. So, yeah, I was disappointed in some aspects of the game. I was disappointed to lose 4. It was a silly 20-minute period in that second half that we just completely fell apart. I actually thought first half, I thought we did compete in parts of that game, and like Melvyn said, we had a couple of opportunities where maybe that goal would have made a difference. But it is what it is. It's probably one of the toughest stadiums in the world right now to go to and try and get a result. And we're leagues behind Liverpool. We're years behind them. So there are definitely things that all I want to see is that we learn from those situations, and that's all we can ask, is that the team can bounce back now, get a result of the weekend. Hopefully, Man City can do us a favour. We're right on the edge of the top four. We're in that mix, so it doesn't need to be all doom and gloom. You know, it's a disappointing result, but we move on and we go again against Newcastle on Saturday. If we get a result there, people will forget about that Liverpool game quickly enough.
Yeah, no, I agree to a certain degree. I mean, we need to put that behind us because, you know, you can't dwell on certainly the players and the manager shouldn't be dwelling on a bad defeat because we've got important games coming up very quickly. So I'm hoping that they will. I just find it, maybe it's just because, I don't know, maybe I've been around a little bit too long, but for me, I'm finding it a little bit strange how easily people seem to be making excuses for Arteta. Oh, it's a young team. We can't expect to get a result at Anfield. Brighton got a draw at Anfield in their last home game. Crystal Palace, with a new manager, went and won away at Manchester City. We never compete in these games. And we're constantly making excuses for years. Before, you know, Wenger was losing 4-0, it was Wenger's fault. Emery got hammered at Anfield, it was Emery's fault. Now we're getting hammered at Anfield again. And it's not Arteta's fault. It's because he's got a young team. Well, he's brought the players. So why is it always us that always get hammered in these games? We never compete. Not one season do we ever compete with these teams. We never look like we could possibly get a result. Other teams do on a regular basis. Palace have won twice away at Man City in the last 4 years. You know, Brighton have got a draw at Liverpool. They won at Liverpool last year. And teams like that, they haven't got better players than us. They definitely haven't. But yet they can go there and they can compete with these teams and sometimes get a result. We never, ever do. And that to me is what... I don't know, that just frustrates me so much, and it kind of I'm wondering why it's always us that ends up on the wrong end of these games. It's always us every single year, and other teams, but
it's not though, Rich. We've beaten Liverpool with Arteta, we've beaten Chelsea with Arteta, we've beaten City with Arteta. We've beaten these teams. We do compete, and I agree that at the weekend we didn't, but we have done in the past with under Arteta. So.
I mean, in the Premier League, is
that an excuse or is that a fact? It is a fact, isn't it, that we've beaten these teams?
No, but in the Premier League, we haven't won away at Anfield under Arteta. We haven't won away at City under Arteta. We did win away at Stamford Bridge last year, which was just before they played in the FA Cup final. They rested half their team, but we did win that game, fair enough. But it wasn't the same, you know, there's the same pressure on that game for Chelsea as maybe that there normally is. But, you know, we are regularly getting beaten in all these games away from home. And it's not looking like on Saturday showed me we wasn't looking at any different to what we have done under previous managers with different players. And it's the same mindset and we're falling apart. We go 1-0 down at Anfield, we end up losing 5-0. Brighton went 2-0 down at Anfield, came back and got a draw. I know it's a different game, different players, but these things happen more regularly with other teams than they do with us. We don't seem to be able to compete in these games in the Premier League away from home. I mean, Melvyn, you want to come in there?
Yeah, just to say, about learning on the job, you're saying that Arteta's learning on the job. With all due respect, you don't have to be a great manager or an experienced manager to know that some of these substitutions he doesn't make sense. It's nothing to do with learning on the job. They're just plain bad. Most, I should think, if not all the fans can go, what? What's all that about? It's nothing. That is nothing. There's other things he's doing learning on the job, perhaps, but definitely not the substitutions. He should know sometimes when you want to win a game, not that I'm not talking about Saturday's game, I'm talking about other games, that when you're away from home, you're getting beat by an inferior team 1-0, you don't suddenly put El Neni on for a forward, and he's done that in the past. About learning on the game, he should know that. That should be like natural, not even thinking about it. And that's the disappointment for me. But I think things this year are looking a lot better. I really do. You know, it's the team. You've got to remember, like, as they're young, they will get better. They play a bit more together. At least he's playing consistently back for the same back four. We might change the left back here and there with Tierney, I don't know. But it's consistent. You've got your goalkeeper, your right back, your two centre halves, which we haven't had for ages. And the only change will be the left back, barring injuries, which is fantastic. And with that, we're looking like the midfield might be a little bit consistent, though I think a few of them are away. Is it December they go away? Is it December or whatever? But at least there's a little bit consistency going through the team. You've got your Smith-Rowes and Saka. I mean, perhaps Saka might need a rest, especially after I hate to knock him, but his performance on Saturday, I know no one played brilliantly, but I thought he just seems to lack that little bit of desire, if you like. You see me either he was tired or he just wasn't on it. But at least as you said, in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, keep this going and we'll have a better team. I really do. I think we'll get stronger and stronger. But it doesn't mean you can say the manager hasn't made mistakes. He will make mistakes. But some mistakes like substitution shouldn't happen. That should be the first thing a manager should do with his eyes shut, making decent substitutions. And he doesn't even react. He doesn't proact. We know that. But he doesn't even react. The react is the same for same, like for like, which is pointless really, unless someone's injured.
Yeah,
you can make like for like.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, something else actually on sort of the tactics and stuff like that. I mean, for me, on Saturday, we started to play the ball out from the back again, which we've not done in recent games, actually, very much. We've done it occasionally, but against Liverpool, who press high up the pitch, you know that's what they're going to do. And we started playing it out from the back, which to me was playing right into Liverpool's hands. I mean, everybody could see that's not the way we can play against Liverpool, because that's our weakness, is playing it out from the back. Even with Ramsdale, who's better at it than Leno was better, you know, than Leno is. But we've never been very good at playing it out from the back. And we've almost cut out doing that. I can't remember the last time we did it that much in a game as we did on Saturday against a team that pressure high up the pitch. And it just seemed, I mean, surely Arteta must know that's what Liverpool do. Everybody knows that's what Liverpool do, especially at Anfield. And I just found it really strange that suddenly he's gone back to playing like that in a game. That's the last game. If you're going to play it out from the back, play it out from the back against Newcastle, maybe. You're not going to pressure. Don't play it out from the back against Liverpool away, because that's the result is always going to be the result that we got. I mean, Adam, did you find that a little bit strange that we did start doing that again when we haven't really done it, have we, lately?
Yeah. I thought exactly the same thing when I was watching the game. I couldn't get my head around why they continued to do it and why they were, why they sustained it. You know, it was clearly playing into Liverpool's hands. They press from the front, and they're known for that. That's one of their strengths. So, yeah, I couldn't work it out. And again, like, it just made no sense. But even if, like, the manager's telling you, surely the players know that that's not happening. So, you know, you go long or you just get rid of it. I just, that worried me a little bit because, obviously we know that they want to play out where possible. And that's one of the reasons we did get Ramsdale, I think, because he can play out from the back.
Yeah.
But you do that against the teams we're able to. You don't do it against the teams that are famous for a high press. No, it was baffling, to be quite honest.
They're the best at it as well, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. They are. Exactly. The one team that you don't want to play out from back against is Liverpool, because if you get it wrong, you're going to get punished. And we not only did we do it a couple of times, we kept doing it until we were 4-0 down, and then suddenly we start going long. Oh, yeah, right, okay, well done. You should have done that 25 minutes ago. I mean, Dawsey, I wanted to touch on what Melvyn said actually about the settled team that we've got now, because Arteta's not making many changes per week, is he? He's pretty much, as Melvyn said, the same back five, pretty much the same midfield, barring injuries, and now Lacazette's come in, and we're playing that same system. But for me, is it more about him not trusting the other players in the squad? Because it's the same players on the bench every week who aren't getting on. Martinelli, Rob Holding's not getting a game anymore. Cedric hasn't been on the pitch for God knows how long. And is it because he doesn't trust the other players, or is it because he just wants this team to play more games together? But he's got to get a balance, isn't he? Because if Rob Holding has to play, for example, he's not going to be up with the pace of the Premier League because he's not played for months.
Yeah, I guess it's a combination of both, probably, to be honest. He's obviously brought these players in, and especially with a back four, back five, the only way that you're ever going to get a real solid unit at the back is by the same 4 or 5 players playing week in, week out. That's the only way you can do it. It's probably a bit of both. I mean, people like Mari, and we haven't even seen him at all. No. You don't see him anywhere. So it's probably a little bit of both, but it also comes in to play when we're not playing as many games, So if we had European football, and we had Europa League, and if you had a straightforward group where you could rotate a little bit, then we might have seen a bit more of these players. But the fact that really we're only playing once a week, bar cup games as well, then I think, like we said at the start of the season when we were doing these shows, was that there's no real excuse to rotate the team. We've got a good enough squad, a big enough squad to compete in all 3 of the competitions that we're in. So if and where you can, play your strongest 11. He's clearly picked his starting 11, his strongest 11. We can all see that. And now it's just a case of these guys playing week in, week out. But you're right. If you pick up an injury to Gabriel or Ben White and you're expecting someone to come in and hit the ground running when they're stone cold, they've not played football, that's a big ask, and you're probably going to get a few mistakes there as well, unfortunately. But I guess it's risk versus reward, isn't it? You want a settled team, you want a settled 11 that can learn to play together. So you do that, but yes, the risk of it is that if players need to come in and do a job, it's going to be a bit more difficult for them. But yeah, it's always going to be a struggle when you're playing probably 15, 20 games less a season than what you would be used to, I guess. But yeah, personally for me, I like the fact that we're seeing a settled 11, because that's the only way that we're gonna grow together and kind of build a strong team and strong units. But yeah, it is a concern, and especially when players like Martinelli. I think Martinelli's a perfect example, because you're not going to bring Rob Holding in to come and do a job for 20 minutes, are you, unless you get an injury. But
yeah,
someone like Martinelli, he's the one I don't get, because by all intents and purposes, you look at him, he looks from the outside in that he's one of the hardest working kids there in training. He seems like he's got a good, really strong he's got a mentality that you want to see in the team. It's a bit bizarre whether or not, I did read somewhere that he was trying to transition him into a centre forward role, but that's not really an excuse to not give him any minutes whatsoever. So that's really the only one that baffles me a little bit. I don't particularly want to see it.
Especially in a team that's not scoring goals as well. It's not like forwards are scoring every week. You can understand it, but they're not, are they? So why not freshen it up, change it? That's the one area in the team.
I guess the problem is one of the two players that he's going to look to replace is probably Saka or Smith Rowe. Now, I know Smith Rowe floats around and he goes here, there and everywhere across the pitch, but predominantly he starts the game on one of the flanks, and then you've got Saka on the other. So do you drop one of them? But I agree with what you guys said earlier. Saka, he looks a bit tired. He's played a lot of football for someone that's so young. And I always worry that you're going to end up with another Jack Wilshere. You don't want that to happen. So I think it's important to rotate in the positions that you can. And Martinelli is a position that you can give him 20 minutes at the end of every game. It's not going to make any difference, really, is it? So, but yeah, no, it's a difficult one. It's the risk versus reward, isn't it?
Yeah, go on, Melvyn.
Going back to Martinelli, I think that I don't want him to play wide. I think he gets kicked to high heaven playing wide. I think his strengths are his runs, his timing, and he's getting away from players. I think he's a type of, not centre forward, in my opinion, he could be a type of a Michael Owen type forward, where he's not a centre forward, but he's always at the top of the tree, might be the right or left and coming in late. As I say, he's got a great knack for his time. We haven't got that type of player. We've got Aubameyang and Lacazette. Lacazette, for all his hard work, and he does work bloody hard, he reminds me of a tree. He's a solid tree, He's like that. Holds the ball up, and, he's not like away and goes past the defender. And the way that Aubameyang has been playing recently, I know that he's our captain in inverted commas, but really, he doesn't deserve to play every game for 90 minutes. And if you're selling, and he very rarely takes Aubameyang off, I don't think he'll even take him off for 10 minutes. I mean, Martinelli deserves more than 10 minminutes. If I had my way, I would play Aubameyang on games like this, obviously. And if after half time he's not doing it, because let's face it, you can tell after 10 minutes if Aubameyang can have a decent game. It comes off his knee sometimes. You know what he's going to be like, right? And other times he's up for it and he's like, oh, here we go. I would take him off if the manager's got enough confidence and grit to take him off and stick Martinelli there, because he can't do worse. And it gives the defence, whoever we're playing, something different to think about. He'll take the defence everywhere. And when you've got runners like Saka and Smith Rowe as well behind him, all of a sudden, we're not that easy to read. And we can play at pace. And if you've got crosses coming in from Tavares or Tierney or Tommy, that's the perfect guy you want in the middle running through. So I just don't know why we don't play him. It's a conundrum, isn't it? It's a bit like the Saliba conundrum. We spend. I'm not saying it's bad money spending 50 million on Ben White, but we had a ready-made centre half there, perhaps. All right, he's not up to Ben White standard yet, Saliba, because he's not playing the Premier. But at the end of the day, we should have given him a chance last year to see what we have got. It's untested. really. We spent 50 million on something else that's not been tested.
No, 100%. I mean, what's going to happen now is you can guarantee it that Arsenal will end up spending millions of pounds on a forward when we've got Martinelli who can come in and do a job. And we know he can do a job because he's done a job in the team before. He's scored a lot of goals. So that's what we'll do. We'll end up spending millions of pounds on a striker because that's what everyone's going to demand. The fans are going to demand it. Arteta probably will demand that we get a new striker. And we've got one who, yes, he's not the finished product yet at all. Of course, he's still only young, but he's not playing. He's never going to develop and become a top Premier League player if he's stuck on the bench for 90 minutes every week or 89 minutes or whatever, how long he's on the bench for, which is most of the game. You know, he's hardly coming on, is he, at all? And, you know, has he got what it takes to really make it in the Premier League? We're never going to know, are we, at the moment? And we are going to end up spending millions of pounds on a striker, and no doubt, if not in January, certainly in the summer, I would imagine, because Lacazette's probably not going to be here, rather than just giving him the opportunity where we know that he can do it. And we've got an interesting point here from Shane, actually. He says, "Hi, lads, hope you're well. How much impact on the club will Kroenke's $1 billion fine?" I mean, that's the interesting thing. I mean, I don't think it's going to make too much difference because he's not exactly, you know, investing a lot in us anyway, is he? So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. What do you guys think about that then? Obviously, the American football kind of situation.
I never heard about it. I don't know. I'm ignorant on that. What went on? What did he get fined for?
I'm not sure exactly what he got fined for. It's to do with the American football team, isn't it? Is it the Rams or whatever it is, his team? Something to do with it. Yeah.
You know what'll happen? We go back up to the Emirates on Saturday and part of the stadium's gone. I reckon that's what's probably happening.
All the seats will be out, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it means he'll sell up.
Well, this could be the thing, couldn't it? If he needs the money, who knows? You know, maybe that could be a good thing for us. But if he doesn't sell up,
he needs the money. I think he's all right.
Well, no,
I think he's all right money-wise.
No, he probably is all right money-wise, let's be honest. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what difference it does make. I mean, it's not like he's been splashing out loads of money and suddenly he's going to think, oh, I better tighten my belt a little bit now. That's not really been the case. I don't think it's going to make an awful lot of difference, other than maybe it will make him think more about selling a club, maybe. And then he can throw all his money into one club as opposed to spreading it out over two, maybe. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not really sure what it's going to make.
With the American football side of things, though, like they always knew that there was a potential lawsuit when because I think if I've not looked at it, I follow American football a bit, but I think it was because St. Louis were suing them from moving the club from St. Louis to LA, and I think that St. Louis as a state or as a city was suing them, and evidently when they were making that move, they kind of had already accounted for the potential money that was going to go to that, because they weighed it all up. They kind of knew it was going to be about 700 million or something fine, and they were kind of counterbalancing that. And I think that's what he got fined for. I might be wrong, but I think that is the fine. But I think that from what I gather, they'd already accounted that as part of the move because they knew that by moving to LA, biggest or most expensive state in the world, they'll get their money back sooner rather than later. So they they moved with a calculated risk.
Can I ask you a question, gentlemen? Would you travel to LA to watch the Arsenal win in a couple of years' time when he does that?
No. I'm going to LA next month, actually. I was going to say Arsenal.
Well, don't go and watch the Rams then, anyway. But no, I mean, I suppose.
Don't check the stadium.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's going to make a lot of difference. Really. I mean, if Adam's right there, maybe they'd already accounted for that money, then it's not going to make a difference at all, is it? Because they were expecting it and they'll be prepared. If that isn't the case, then who knows what the difference it's going to make. But I don't know. I've given up kind of worrying about what the Kroenkes may or may not do. So we just have to put up with it, don't we? And if they invest a little bit in our team, which they have done this summer, they did. We spent the most money out of anyone else. So they have put some money into it, I guess. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I don't think we can worry too much about what they're going to do because. Well, we say they're the owners that we've got, and we're stuck with them, aren't we? Unfortunately, obviously, as Dawsey mentioned a little while ago, that the important thing now, having lost to Liverpool in the way that we did, is that we bounced back. Now, you could say that actually we've got a great opportunity to bounce back because we're playing a team at the bottom of the league at home, and these are the sort of games where this season in particular, although sometimes we struggle to get the result, we have got a victory, but. Is this not maybe not a great time to be playing Newcastle, the new manager syndrome and all that kind of stuff? So I think we need to have a little look at that as well. Obviously, that picture then was last season's game when Aubameyang actually scored a goal, which I know seems quite a long time ago now, but he did used to score some goals actually at one point. And he's got a good record against Newcastle, funnily enough. He's got about 5 or 6 goals against them. So it's maybe a good opportunity, a good game for him as well. But new managers coming to Newcastle, obviously. I know it was his first game last week, although he wasn't in the stadium because he had COVID and he may not be able to travel to London at the weekend. But do we feel now, maybe, obviously, I'd say a few weeks ago, we would have thought guaranteed 3 points playing Newcastle at home. They have kind of playing a little bit better now, haven't they? Since they got rid of Steve Bruce, they seem to be a lot more of an attacking team. And they played well last week. I mean, Melvyn, do you think this is maybe not the best time to be playing them, bearing in mind we've just come back off a big defeat as well?
No, I think it's okay. I'm not worried about that at all. I mean, you can always make reasons for not playing a team. I mean, it's Newcastle, with all due respect. No excuses. I don't care if they've got a new manager. We should be beating teams like that, especially with the team we've got. You know, if we don't beat them, I don't want any excuses. It's poor if we don't beat them. I don't care who the manager is because he hasn't had a chance. Yeah, teams have a bounce when they get a new manager, but even with the bounce, we should be too good for this one because they haven't got a great team. Let's face it. They've got some big weaknesses in that side. You know what I mean? But they've got the great. They've got the guy up front, Son. What's his name? Son.
Maximum.
Oh, he's good, isn't he? He's good. Yeah. I like him. I like him a lot. That's a worry for me. But apart from that, no. So they got a new manager. We're Arsenal. We're at home. We're in the top, whatever we are, 6 or whatever it is. But let's just go for it. And apart from luck, I don't have any other excuses.
No. I mean, I don't think we need to make excuses. But we know what's happened previously. Clubs get a new manager. We've seen it with Norwich. We've seen it with Aston Villa, and it can be a bad time. We've got Man United in a couple of weeks, and they've just got rid of their manager as well. So we're not having much luck on that side of it. And we've suffered in the past, haven't we, with a new manager syndrome against us. And I like I said 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have even thought twice about beating Newcastle at home. We beat them at home every year, and you'd have thought we'd guarantee 3 points out here straight off the bat. But suddenly now, I'm starting to think that other things have maybe gone on that have maybe less confident, shall we say. I'm not saying that I don't think we'll win. We'll come on to that a little bit later. But I mean, Adam, what are your thoughts kind of ahead of this game? Obviously Eddie Howe is going to improve him, isn't he? And he already sort of, you could see from an attacking sense, he improved him last week. They're still a little bit sort of, they've got work to do at the back, haven't they? But then that's our issue as well, is that we can't score enough goals anyway. So what are you kind of thinking ahead of this game?
I think, like Melvyn, we should be beating Newcastle, not just based on current form, but they're not a great team this year. And whether that changes in January on whoever they're able to get in, but at the moment, they're not a good team. I think you take St. Maximin out of that team, maybe Callum Wilson as well. That's about, they're their 2 main threats, if you ask me. And I'm not overly concerned. But my only concern is the fact that they're due a win. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I said Norwich were due a win. And then they've won 2 on the bounce. Newcastle were long overdue a win. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they've lost. They've not won, have they, this season? They're the only team that's not won a game this season. They've drew a few. So as part of me is thinking they are due a win, but we should be beating them. Like as simple as that. I am confident. We'll get a reaction. And I think if we can get, again, they say it's really important, but if we can get that first goal and we can get it early on, I think we'll be fine. I'll go on to my predictions a little bit later, but I am worried about the whole, they are due a win kind of thing. But if we lose, then there's some serious questions there. At home against the team who are at the bottom, who haven't won a game, new manager or not, they're not a strong side at the moment. So yeah, I'm confident.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're all confident, but it's just, I don't know. I feel as though it's not the best time maybe that these fixtures come up really. I say I'd have preferred to have played them a little while ago, but anyway, you can't help when the games come. They just come when the fixtures say, and you just have to get on with it and do it. But yeah, I just think it might be a more difficult game now than it may have been. Not that we still should be too good for it.
Any game's difficult though, really. Premier League games, any game's difficult really.
Yeah,
I mean, we made hard work of beating Watford and Norwich, didn't we? Where as on paper, both of those should have been pretty easy, but we made hard work of those 2 games. So you just never know.
No, exactly. I mean, Norwich, I think when we played them, they were bottom of the league without a win. I don't think they even scored a goal.
Yeah.
And we struggled to beat them. So, yeah, it could be a similar game to that, maybe. I mean, Dawsey, what are you thinking? Are you expecting a reaction, obviously, from the Liverpool game, first of all? And do you think that Newcastle are, I mean, Adam rightly says they are due a win at some point. They're going to win a game this season at some stage, probably before Christmas. Is this maybe their chance to maybe catch us if we're on an off day and maybe nick a result?
If they beat us at the weekend, we would have beaten ourselves, not them beating us. We'd have not turned up, not got a reaction. For me, that's the only way I can see us not winning this game is by. I'm expecting it to be comfortable, but the thing with Arsenal, we've all mentioned it tonight and on other shows as well, is the longer that goes 0-0, that's when we start to struggle, and we start to struggle when looking at options and what we can do off the bench and stuff like that. It doesn't really seem to make too many changes. But like Adam said, if I can see us getting an early goal, and if we get an early goal, then I think it'll be relatively comfortable. I think we'll get a few hopefully, but yeah, I'm not too worried overly about the weekend. It just what kind of reaction we get. If we get a good reaction, we'll win it. If we don't, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's generally how it probably is. I mean, we do have such a good record against Newcastle as well, not just at home, but in any game. You know, they very rarely ever beat us or get a draw, do they? I mean, we beat them 3 times last season without conceding a goal, and that seems to be how it goes against these. But I don't know, there's something nagging away in my mind because of the new manager thing and the fact that, you know, you're right what you said there, Dawsey. You know, we played Norwich and Watford at home and we didn't get an early goal and we struggled. And we did finally break them down and get the goal in the second half and win the game 1-0. But this could be a similar game. I'm expecting maybe it to be a similar game to that. If we don't score early in the first 20 minutes, then it's going to be an almighty struggle because Newcastle are going to grow in confidence. And they are, I mean, as Melvyn said, they've got that threat on the counter-attack as St. Maximin, and he's got pace, he's tricky, and he could cause us problems on the counter-attack. Definitely. There's no doubt about that. You know, so I'm not, you know, yes, I think we'll probably win. We'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah, I do think Newcastle are going to be more dangerous opponent now than I say they may have been a few weeks ago. And it is a little bit of a, you know, it's slightly nagging away at me. And if we don't win the game, even if we only get a draw, I mean, what do you think that the reaction will be to that, Melvyn? Obviously, having lost to Liverpool in the way that we did, if we don't beat Newcastle at home, you know, when we've got 2 really big away games in the next week after that as well, tough away games traditionally for us, Man United and Everton. I know Man United have got their problems, and so have Everton actually at the minute, but 2 more tough games. What sort of reaction do you think that there'll be, you know, from the fans on social media and everything else, you know, if we fail to beat the team bottom of the league at home?
Well, it all depends on the performance, actually, Richard. I mean, if it's one of those games where nothing went right and we got some bad decisions and it just wasn't going to be our day and we draw 2-2, I don't think the fans in the stadium would be all right. You might get people on social media who didn't go to the game, read the headline and go, oh, bloody hell, we're rubbish. If you actually watch the game and you study it and you think, no, this is just one of those games, every team has it, let's face it, every team gets beaten in this league and at home, whoever they are, then you just got to accept it. That's part of being a football fan and being an Arsenal fan, most certainly. But if they actually have a poor performance, their shoulders are down, there's no energy, there's nothing, then I think, yeah, there will be a bad reaction. I think it's partly, let's face it, I've been to Arsenal games over the years when it's 0-0, we've been absolutely rancid, absolutely shocking. We get a goal in the last minute and everyone's happy and waiting for the next game. So it is a lot about results. And we are, as football fans, all about winning. We are all about winning, but sometimes you've got to take a step back and look at the performance.
No, I agree. I mean, you know, one of the things, I mean, I want to come on to it a bit later as well, but one of the things for me is enjoying watching the team play. It isn't something that I've found an awful lot of lately, actually, over the last couple of years or so, actually enjoying watching the way that we play. And yeah, I want to be entertained. I want to enjoy the game and play well. And obviously, usually that will lead to a victory against a team like Newcastle, I suppose. I mean, Adam, what would it worry you that if we don't win that, the reaction to the Liverpool game, especially on social media, a lot of, you know, people turning on the team again after the run that we've been on. I mean, if we don't beat Newcastle, I can see that being, you know, getting a lot worse straight away.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that for me frustrates me the most about our fan base. The fact that, you just knew, or, I didn't go onto Twitter straight after the Liverpool game, so I just knew what it was going to be like. I knew what it was going to be over social media. I just thought, I don't need that. We've just lost 4-0, pretty disappointed as it is. I just don't need that right now. So I waited until the next morning. And I think I put a post out just to say that, like, literally Arsenal Twitter was in meltdown. And that's just, and like you said, like, it's just a gut reaction of people who just, want to spout off stuff that they probably don't even believe half the time. That's the thing I genuinely think. I think people will spout stuff out there just to get likes or clickbait, whatever you want to call it. I genuinely believe that. Because if I was frustrated, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, come this game, I'll forget about that game because I wanted us to win on Saturday. So I'll be at the match Saturday and I'll be getting behind them. I'll be encouraging them. And that's at the end of the day what we should do, because like Melvyn said, football's football. You win some, you lose some, you draw some. And that's the nature of the beast. And I think that we've got no divine right to win every single game of football. And I think that some of our fan base think that we have, because we're Arsenal and we've won the titles before. And that annoys me a little bit. But yeah, if it's not a good performance and we don't get a win, whether it's a draw or a loss, again, it'll go into complete meltdown. Do you know what I mean? Whereas 20 years ago, before social media, there'd be none of that. It would just be like, oh yeah, we lost the game, bad write-up in the papers, we move on. Do you know what I mean? So
we'd have a meltdown in the pub though, wouldn't we, to be fair, after the game usually.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the good part about it, I guess. But what I'm saying, it's like, it does frustrate me, and that kind of aspect of where the game is now. But for me, we've all seen performances where we've played really, really well and we've either lost or drew. It happens. They're frustrating. But you've got to kind of see that performance. I mean, like I said, I quite love a game when we play bad and we sneak a win. I love it. I think like you've got away with something. It's quite, that's great. But unless, for some people, unless we're winning 3 or 4-0, they're never going to be happy. Do you know what I mean? They're never going to be happy. I know people who are complaining about the Watford game winning 1-0, even though we dominated the possession. Watford had one shot on goal, but because we only won 1-0, that they don't see that. They just see it as a 1-0 rather than actually what the game was about. So I mean, I'm hoping that there'll be no reason to give the Twitter meltdown to happen. I hope it'll be a nice, convincing, straightforward Saturday lunchtime, but it very rarely is, isn't it? So we'll see.
Exactly. It very rarely is. Mark Darby in chat said, evening, guys. He said, Dawsey liking the long locks. He says, you've normally got a hat on, actually, haven't you? So it's nice to.
I normally, I do normally. It's only just starting to take shape a bit.
Well, I mean, it does he's looking cool. I wish I could grow mine as well, but anyway, those days are long gone, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, that is a problem, isn't it? That it's very. I mean, I don't suppose Arsenal fans on social media are probably any worse than any other club fans. No. Very reactionary and up and down. And when you win, you're going to win the league, and when you lose, you're going to get relegated. It's a bit like that sometimes. And I think Arsenal, because Arsenal have got a big following on social media. Arsenal probably got one of the biggest, fans interact on social media probably more than most other clubs. That's probably why it seems that way. But I mean, Dawsey, we've seen some crazy stuff out there this last week, haven't we? After the Liverpool game, and also as well, I think on both sides, I think that there's people that are overreacting to the fact we lost 4-0, and also people are overreacting to the fact that we went 10 games unbeaten, and it's kind of there's a bit of a clash, isn't there? There seems to be. There doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground. It doesn't seem as though you can just accept how things are and be disappointed that we lose, and maybe not too excited when we only beat Norwich and Watford 1-0. But everyone seems to be either, we're brilliant because we've gone 10 games unbeaten, Arteta's fantastic, or it's like this is the end of the world because we've lost 4-0 to Liverpool. There don't seem to be anything in the middle for some reason.
It's bizarre. It really is bizarre. And I think that the days of, for me, you judge a manager and you judge a team on a season. Season's 38 games long. And for me, that's where you judge it. Yeah, obviously you don't want to go, obviously the run we had last year, we lost 8 games out of 9 or whatever it was. Obviously, if you're starting to see runs like that, then there's clearly a problem. And there's clearly something underlying that needs to be resolved. But I mean, losing at Anfield, I mean, I love the club like everybody else does. I just wasn't that bothered because for me, I wasn't expecting the game. Yes, I didn't like the way we lost the game. Yes, Arteta made mistakes in the game. He made silly substitutions. And the players didn't step up. We had no leadership. it went back to individual errors from Tavares, who actually I would say has been phenomenal the last 3 games that he's played. I thought he's been absolutely brilliant. But
yeah,
it is what it is. You judge your team on the season. You see where we finish. I mean, I said it earlier on. We win Saturday and City win, and we're in the top 4 on points. You know, obviously we won't beat West Ham on goal difference, but you know, it's just so reactionary. And I'm exactly the same as Adam. To be honest, I just don't even bother looking after a game, especially after a poor result. And I think the problem where it feels like it's worse with Arsenal is because it's been growing over such a long period of time. Obviously, we had the back end of Wenger's reign where it all kind of really started off the back of certain YouTube channels, and it kind of that it grew arms and legs from that. And then obviously Emery came in and he kind of settled it to start with, and then that all went wrong as well. So kind of that made it intensify a bit, and it got worse. And then there are fans out there that I don't think it matters what Arteta does. I don't think they'll ever get behind him. It's sad really. And I am behind Arteta, and I do like 80% of what he's doing. I'm the first one to say when he's made a mistake and when he should have done things differently. But I guess in terms of myself managing my own expectations, and that's why I don't rant on social media. There's just no point, because, like you said back in the day, you just go to the pub with your mates, smash it out over a beer, and that'll be it. You move on, you go to the next game, and you worry about it at the end of the season. But yeah, it's sad really. It's sad really, because like Adam said, people just do it purely just to get a reaction. It's not for any half the time what they post. Like Adam said, they probably don't even believe what they're writing half the time. So it's just it's just best to stay away from it after a game, especially a defeat.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do something a bit different on the channel, really, just to try to, so we can, you don't always have to agree with everybody's opinion, but it's nice just to be able to talk about it sensibly and, not just, I've seen shows on YouTube that are literally just reactionary shows, aren't they? And that's, they do that to get views and people watch them, which is up to them. But I don't know, I always wanted to try and do something a bit different. And I think that we do, we can discuss these things and make good points and talk about it, which I think is important as well. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think that the social media thing, it maybe helps in a way, because it maybe brings more interest to it all. But ultimately, it certainly from an Arsenal fan's point of view, it isn't always very productive, is it? Generally, that's the problem, and we don't seem to get anywhere. We have Arsenal fans arguing amongst themselves because someone thinks one thing and someone thinks something else, rather than just being able to actually understand that everybody's not going to see the game the same way as you do, and that's fine. Let's talk about it and have a discussion, and hopefully, agree to disagree if you have to at the end, that's fine, but don't just shout people down and this, that and the other just because they might not agree with what you think. And I don't know, that's the problem for me more than
I think it baffles me that people don't seem to realise that they're a part of the problem. They put all of this stuff online. I genuinely don't think they realise just how much of this the players probably see, and they're part of the problem. They're not improving anything. If you support a club, you don't put stuff like that online out there for the club and the players to see. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand what the end game is for them. What they expect to achieve. They'll grow a Twitter page. They'll get a load of followers, and it will last a year, and then they'll die out like everyone else does. It just baffles me.
No, you're right, and it's a shame really that it's become like that really, because it's just like you said, the players probably do catch some of it as well, and it annoys me sometimes when some of the players actually interact with some of these channels that are the biggest culprits of it really, and you see the players interacting with the people that's on there. It's like, what are you doing? But anyway, maybe they kind of enjoy that themselves, some of them. I don't know, you get that feeling, don't you, I suppose. But I mean, sort of moving away from social media, maybe now's the time to perhaps do a little archive section, going back to a time before social media, when Arsenal used to lose games quite regularly in this particular season especially, and no one seemed to care as much, or we didn't seem to be as bothered, although it wasn't much fun. But let's see what we all remember about this season. In the picture, there's Ian Wright, of course, who was the main the main reason that we kind of managed to endure a lot of the games that season, 94-95 is the season, a difficult season for Arsenal actually, and a difficult season for George Graham because he didn't last the season, did he? That was the end for him, sort of 3/4 of the way through the season when all that happened with the bung situation over the Norwegian players that he bought and this and the other. But it looked as though, for me, that season, it looked as though George Graham had lost the plot before we got to that stage. Melvyn, you must have felt that as well. Yeah, we had that. We'd won the Cup Winners' Cup the year before, and we had that game against Milan, wasn't it? For they won the European Cup, and it was like a Super Cup, wasn't it? And we went there and didn't really compete, and it was almost like I got the feeling then that George Graham had given up with Arsenal.
I think that I remember the home game. I think we played the home game first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we drew 0-0.
0-0, and we didn't have a clue, didn't have a Scooby. No. It was, I mean, AC Milan, one of the top teams to play in Europe at that time. You know, we didn't get a lot of Europe then, and it was so exciting to go to Highbury that night because the atmosphere is always better at night. Really looked forward to it. Got there, and it was like a damn squib.
Yeah,
absolute damn squib. It's like, well, what was all that about? And it was. You just felt as the season was going on that there was something lacking from being championship winning the division or Division 1 or Division 1 winners a couple of years before that, and a couple of years before that won the Cup Winners' Cup. There was something about this team. There was some solidity, great defence, and all of a sudden it all seemed to splinter. If Ian Wright didn't score, we did let in goals and we got beat. I mean, I remember sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, there is an outside chance. I know that we had a bad run. I think out of 7 games, we got 3 points near the end of the season. And yet our worst, at the end of that 7 games, we were quite high. We were 12th. But I remember around that time, looking at the table and going from 12th to a relegation, there's only 4 or 5 points in it, if that.
Yeah.
I was thinking, hold on a minute, we are in a mess here. We've won 1 game in 7, lost all the others. If we go on that run again, we are down. How did that come about? What happened there? What changed? It was really strange. I mean, I remember more about that season, more for the cups than the league position. Yeah. I remember playing at home to Millwall in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And it was, I think they battered us really. Though we were at home, they went 1-0 up. We just couldn't get near them. And then Mark Kennedy scored a goal in the last minute. He looked terrific that game. He looked absolutely fantastic. And it was one of those, end of the game, we're out of the cup to Millwall. I think we'd gone away to them and gotten back to Highbury. That was horrible. Also, in the Cup Winners, not the Cup Winners, was it the Cup Winners? Yeah, Cup Winners Cup. When we saw off Sampdoria in penalties, that was a great tie. And that was a good tie. And then I thought we were slightly lucky when, who did we play? Was it Auxerre, when Wright scored an away goal. We'd drawn at home, 0-0, so we've got no advantage there. They had, no advantage, and come to their place, and we didn't play well that night. It just wasn't happening. And then Wrighty got a goal and broke their hearts basically. And we
drew 1-1 at home, Melvyn. So they actually had an away goal. So we had to score.
We did.
We had to score over there.
Yeah, we had to score. And they were playing for obviously a 0-0 the other team.
Yeah.
And then Wrighty got a goal, individual goal as he normally did, and it got us out of trouble. That was it. And I went to the final, against.
Yeah, I did. Because Zaragoza.
Yeah, I went to that. It's a nightmare. Yeah. Everything was a nightmare. Everything. I went with my mates. We drove there. We got a ferry and drove there or whatever, and parked the car. When we went to the game, got on the metro to get into Paris. Shocking game. They won. I didn't even realise who scored the winner, to be honest with you.
No, not till afterwards, no.
Yeah. And then they wouldn't let us out the ground, the police or these people, until they'd done the lap of honour. What was all that about? It was like, no, it's not fair. We don't want to see this. I was like, shutting your eyes and shut here, listen to the crowd cheering. We got outside and the police took us furthest away from the metro station. By the time we walked to the metro, that's when I found out that he scored the winner, Naeem. Then we got to where we parked the car. It had been locked. So we had to wake someone up. It was in a block of flats we parked it. We were allowed to, but it got locked. It was just an absolute nightmare from one thing to the other. And I remember going back on the old boat, the old hovercraft, whatever it was, I can't remember, and saying to someone, we just got to start again. This is no good. It's just like we've lost our soul. I don't know what was going to happen then, but I knew we had to start again. As I say, the cup matches, the league position. I mean, it was some rotten games, really unforgettable games. And I went round through the list before, and I can't remember a lot of them. It's just unforgettable. The one I do remember, though, I'll tell you what it was. Arsenal won Forest 0 when we bought Glenn Helder.
Yeah.
Like he was on something. He was on something that shouldn't be allowed. He looked so fast and direct. He just kicked the ball 50 yards ahead of him, it seemed.
Yeah.
Every time. We got, I think that might have been his home debut.
It was,
We have got one here. It's amazing. And then all of a sudden, he didn't quite make it, did he? Let's face it. But with all that, I still think I'm glad we bought him because he gave the pass to Bergkamp for his first ever goal. I'm not saying Bergkamp wouldn't have scored ever, but he just the right time set the match alight for Bergkamp. That was fantastic. That. Also, we bought Kiwombi.
Kiwomya.
All at the same time. It was like I think before George Graham went. They let him spend all that money and then sacked him a few days later, I think. It was really weird.
Yeah,
I used to work with an Ipswich supporter, and he went to me, "You've actually just bought Kiwombi off." I went, "Yeah, he's all right." He goes, "Nah, I can't see it, sorry." I said, "You're joking." He went, "Nope, can't understand why Arsenal have bought Kiwombi." I think he scored a couple of goals, which helped keep us up.
He scored in that Forest game. Forest game, yeah.
He did score in that Forest game, yeah, because that was the first game after George Graham got sacked, wasn't it? That Forest game. That was the first game after. I think George got sacked during that day, and then they played the game that night against Forest, and Helder made his debut, and Kiwomya scored the winner. Yeah.
Oh well, that's what I'm saying. That's how close it was to him buying those three players and getting the sack.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it? Where they do that.
No,
that was a game I remember. Other than that, as I say, Paul Merson was in trouble that year, wasn't he? He didn't play for 3 months because of his problems.
Yeah, that's right. That was the season when that all came out, and he was, I think it was about 2 or 3 months. In fact, I think his comeback game was that AC Milan game.
How was it?
I think that was his comeback game from all of that when he came back from his, he'd been in rehab and all whatever else as well, and that was his. I'm sure he came on as a sub at that Highbury game, and that was his return to the side. I'm sure it was that game. But yeah,
we finished 12th, but I'll be honest with you, we nearly went down that season. We look at the table. We nearly went down. Anyway.
No, we did. I mean, you mentioned that we on that run that you were talking about, that really bad run when we were sinking down the table a little bit. And I remember we played the end of that run. We played Norwich at home, and they were fighting relegation as well. And that was almost, it sounded weird at the time, but that was like a relegation 6-pointer almost. That Highbury against Norwich. And I remember Lee Dixon scored a goal in that game. I know we ended up winning 5-1, but Lee Dixon scored an important goal in that game. And like the celebrations that were like, you wouldn't have thought it was a game against Norwich at home and in like March, whatever it was. It was so important that we won that game. And then we went to Aston Villa and won 4-0. And that basically meant that we were going to stay up kind of thing. Which, it was weird that season because we never sunk down to near the bottom of the table, but we were always just above it with a couple of points to spare, weren't we? Pretty much all the way through. And then eventually we got a couple of wins and we kind of sealed it really. But yeah, it was a crazy season. So many things went on. Say the Paul Merson thing, George Graham getting sacked, us being in the wrong end of the table most of the season, really, even from the start. I know we won our first game, but then after that, we just fell away. It was just a nothing season in the league. But in the end, as you said, we got to that final, and we actually stayed overnight. We got a hotel, and I drove actually from Calais to Paris and then we stayed overnight and stuff. But there were loads of Chelsea fans in the Arsenal end that night because Chelsea had been in a semi-final, they'd lost to Zaragoza, and had they won, they'd have been in the final. So a lot of Chelsea fans already bought tickets, and they ended up in the Arsenal section. There was loads of trouble going on. There was Millwall fans in there apparently as well. It was just one of the worst nights ever watching Arsenal. That for me, it was just dreadful. One of the worst ever games I've been to ever in my life. It was terrible, and it didn't help obviously that we lost the way that we did in the last minute of extra time. With Naeem scoring as well, but that was just horrible. And the journey home on the ferry, you've just lost the cup final in the last minute, and you got all that 5-hour drive back to Calais, whatever it was, and then you got to be on the ferry. It was just horrible. That was terrible. That was the worst away trip ever. That was just terrible. But anyway, the less said about that, the better, I suppose. I mean, Adam, do you remember much about that season?
I do actually, yeah. I was in Paris as well, and I was in Copenhagen the year before, which is obviously a completely different trip. And the Paris one, we've done the coach trip, like the club put on the coach trip, like so that you start God knows what hour in the morning outside Highbury and then got back in the evening. But yeah, I remember the journey there being quite good fun, jovial, singing, and the journey back lasting days. Like,
Exactly.
Days, on a coach, but yeah, I literally remember exactly the same what you did. Like, I couldn't work out why they were keeping us in after the game. Like, Zaragoza fans were staying there, so there was no reason to keep us there as well. And I remember the police being quite heavy-handed. I mean, I was only like 15, 16, and I remember my dad trying to protect me and that, like, you know, because they were being very, very forceful, very heavy-handed with the batons and stuff. And yeah, for me that age, it was a bit intimidating. I remember that as well. I remember, like, you know, it was an experience. Let's put it that it was an experience. Yeah, also awful game of football. But I think the other thing for me on a personal level was that was also the first time that season that I started doing domestic away games. That was actually the first season that I started. Went on for a few years after that, but that was the first away games. My first away game in domestic was actually Norwich that season, which was 0-0. And again, you always remember your first proper away game. Like, I'd been away in Europe before, but not domestically. Randomly, I'd done Europe before, you know, before domestic stuff. But I remember it was chucking it down with rain, and it was the most dull game of football ever. 0-0, chucking it down with rain.
That game. Yeah, I remember that.
Just like the heavens open. I remember Stefan Schwartz being the only half-decent player out there. And then he stayed with us that one season, didn't he?
Yeah,
and I
he did.
was a little bit miffed as to why he never stayed, because, like, even when we were a poor team that year, I thought he was a decent player.
Yeah, he was.
But maybe that was the fact that he was a decent player and we weren't a decent team at the time. I don't know, you know. So
that goal he scored, I mean, Melvyn mentioned the Sampdoria game, but that goal he scored in the last minute to extra time when we were just about to go out, that was that free kick. I'll always remember him for that, really. And I know he had a decent season, he was a good player, but I'll always remember him for that goal, because that was the highlight of his whole Arsenal career, wasn't it, that one night?
I heard him as a guest on a podcast, and he said that, but it was a thing that his family couldn't settle. That was purely it. It wasn't a football thing. It was down to that. But he still holds that season, you know, quite fondly in his heart and stuff, which was good. But he could have been a good player for us. But yeah, I remember.
Where did he go, Adam? Do you remember?
Italy,
Benfica. Did he go Benfica?
He come from
Benfica. Oh, right.
I think he went to maybe Fiorentina after. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it was Italy. Not sure where though. But no, I remember the Cormier signing as well. I was quite happy about the John Hartson signing. I quite liked him. I quite liked John Hartson. But yeah, Kiwami was an odd one. Even, like, you know, being, you know, a bit more young then, he never struck me as a good player. Whenever I'd seen him play at Highbury, he was a bit like a headless chicken. And I think he only scored like 3 goals in 2 games, like Forest, and then Palace away, he scored 2, I think, the game after that.
Right,
and that was about it. That was his Arsenal career done. But yeah, I was the same about Glenn Helder. He was rapid, wasn't he? He was so rapid. He was unbelievably fast. Couldn't control the ball, but he was fast, you know. So yeah, it was a mixed season. Football was pretty much bad, but I got some good memories from that season. So.
But going very quickly about Kawambi, when I first saw him play for the Arsenal, I seen him play for Ipswich, didn't make much notice of him. But when we signed him, I thought, this geezer, he didn't have any legs on him. They were so skinny. Back to be a footballer. There was like, I thought it was a schoolboy playing for us. I think they got the wrong Kawambi. It was really,
he did have a brother, didn't he? He did have a brother who played football.
How can that geezer kick a ball?
Yeah, I mean, I remember he scored for Ipswich against us in the FA Cup when we won the FA Cup in '93. He scored against us in the quarterfinals. I don't know whether that's what George Graham saw and thought, you know what, he could be a good player for us. But he made a few funny signs, didn't he? Because he bought Jimmy Carter from Millwall, who didn't work out. He bought Eddie McGoldrick, who didn't work out. He bought Chris Kiwamia and Glenn Helder, who didn't work out. It's like, what was he doing to us? Do you know what I mean? At that time, that mid-90s, he had a nightmare, didn't he, on a few signings. Maybe that's because, well, no, you say that, Adam, maybe he couldn't get the bungs, could he? So he had to settle for them. He wanted to sign Scandinavian players because he got money from them, and he thought, I can't do that anymore, so I'm going to have to buy these crap players. And that seemed to be what happened. We've got Ryan in the chat there. He says, Russ says, evening chaps. Ryan says, evening everyone. He says, hi to Russ. And then Tom says, Stefan Schwartz, indeed. Yeah, he was a player, him. I was just that goal always. I'll never forget that goal. Ryan there says, all right, Tom. And Tom says, first ever stamp on the back of my shirt. Yeah, I mean, it was a good one to get, wasn't it, I suppose? The Stefan Schwartz. You can't really argue with that. Good player. How did you enjoy the DVD? I haven't seen it yet, actually. We'll maybe talk about it in a minute. I mean, Dawsey, do you remember much about that season, 94, 95? I know you'd have been, I mean, obviously, judging by all the hair you've got, you'd have probably been a baby then, wouldn't you?
Well, I was 12 then. I remember bits of it. Nothing that anybody hasn't already mentioned. It was a pretty lackluster season, wasn't it? It was a couple of highlights. I was going to mention the Norwich game. I remember that was pretty much the only big win that we had throughout the whole season, wasn't it? Was that game. But I think Ian Wright pretty much kept us up, didn't he, single-handedly that season? I think he got 30 goals that season still in all competitions, which is phenomenal when you think about how poor that side was. But yeah, I remember that goal away at Auxerre was what a finish. I remember a left-footed curled it straight into the top corner. It was a ridiculous goal, but yeah, not really much more to add, to be honest, from what other people have mentioned. It's just obviously the cup final was really disappointing, especially the way that we lost it. But one to forget, isn't it, that season?
It was, but it kind of, in a way, I mean, I was thinking about earlier on, looking back on this season, and for me, the one thing that maybe made me think about it more was the fact that it reminded me back at the time, the end of George Graham, not just that season, maybe little bits of the season before, where we became a lot less enjoyable to watch. We had a really great side under George Graham when we won the league in 91 and 89, of course, all those great players and exciting football. And that transition didn't, even the season we won the 2 cups in 93, the football was a little bit stale and we were nicking games with Wrighty would just score goals and we'd win games that we perhaps didn't deserve to. And that season, 94, 95, for me, kind of encapsulated all of that, really. It was terrible football to watch. I didn't enjoy watching. You mentioned the Norwich game. That's one of the more enjoyable games of the season. But most of the games were not much fun to watch. The football was dire. We weren't winning many games. We were struggling along. And, Europe maybe got us out of it a little bit. It gave us something to look forward to, didn't it? We kept playing in Europe, kept getting through, scraping through a lot of the rounds. I say the Auxerre game we scraped through. We scraped through the semi-final on penalties when we was a second from going out, and then we got a goal, that's free kick. And it seemed to be, I don't know, it was just a season when I didn't enjoy watching Arsenal, and it really, I don't know. And that's kind of how I kind of feel now in a way, in watching the football. It's not exciting football to watch. And I don't know, it kind of makes me think back to kind of that sort of time when George was on his way out, really. And it was just so boring, really. Boring Arsenal, we've always been called. And at that time, we probably were boring Arsenal, really, weren't we? And I don't think anyone could really argue with that. We managed to scrape some wins here and there, but we were basically Ian Wright, and it didn't matter who else played, did it? If Ian Wright was in the team, you felt like we had a chance of getting something. And usually it was him that did it for us, did it? I mean, I think he scored 30 goals that season, as he tended to do. And not many others scored too many, did they? I don't think anyone else probably reached double figures, probably. And that was kind of where we were, unfortunately. And I don't know, it just kind of reminds me a little bit of how I feel watching Arsenal now. I just don't get that excitement that I want to feel. And I never got that excitement then. And it did come back, obviously, later on. And maybe it'll come back again, but I don't know. But yeah, that's just a personal thing for me, really. Ryan says, Melvyn scrubbing up well. He said, come on then, Melvyn, show us your t-shirt. Go on, give it. Oh, look at that.
Brilliant.
That's, fantastic.
I'm charging Ryan for this. I'm going to charge him for the advertisement, mate.
Yeah, no, you definitely should do. Maybe I should charge him as well, since you're advertising his channel on my channel.
True.
And that's fine. It's good stuff. And Ryan says he's watching it after, obviously the Arsene Wenger thing, which we will talk about. Tom says, I thought Glenn Helder was a shocking player, to be fair. The only guy I've seen put in a cross and it's a corner flag. He's not the only one who's done that, to be fair. There's a few now that take a cross and it's a corner flag. But yeah, he was one of the first, perhaps, wasn't he? Tom says it was on BBC 5 Live at 3, unless you could afford Sky. Right, okay. 693 or... that's BBC 5. Don't we advertise on the BBC on here, Tom? I'm sorry, we're not going to have that at all. You can't advertise the BBC on here; it's not allowed. Because anyway. But no, I mean, it's that season was eye opener maybe, because a lot of us had never really experienced anything like that before. That's probably the worst season that I've had supporting Arsenal, actually, if I'm honest. Melvyn probably saw worse things in the mid-70s, I would say. I was a bit younger. luckily I missed all them. But yeah, that was probably the worst season that I've experienced supporting Arsenal. And you know, it was a long time ago, and I suppose we've all been lucky that we haven't really experienced a season as bad as that since. Actually, despite the problems in the last couple of years, it's nowhere near as bad as that season was. I mean, that was terrible, wasn't it? Really, it's probably as bad as it can get. And I did want to highlight that really to make me feel a little bit better about what's happening now, because although I don't enjoy the football, there's no way it's nowhere near as bad as that season. You know, everything is a lot better. So that's one thing to cling on to and try and enjoy. But yeah, I just want to feel more excitement again about watching us. Really, that's what I'm hoping for. But anyway, maybe it will come. Maybe it will. We'll see. Right, what we need to do then? We need to do our weekly. You know, we're so good at this game, aren't we? Well, some of us are. Some of us aren't quite so good. And Ryan says, Ariel, send the feeds to our bank accounts later. That's cool because, yeah, a little bit of free advertising now. We've advertised the BBC as well, so they need to pay us. But anyway, we'll worry about that later. Russ says, Glenn Helder had pace and little else. He did, yeah. He was kind of like Thierry Henry without any football ability, wasn't he, really? I suppose. That's basically what he was, Glenn Helder. But we loved him briefly, didn't we, for all of 5 seconds.
That's the first time I've ever heard Glenn Helder and Thierry Henry in the same sentence. And I'm hoping it's the last time as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, just for his pace, really, that's all he had. And, you know, he was basically...
Yeah.
He had nice hair, actually, to be fair, as well. He looked like he could have been in a 1970s soul band, didn't he? With his hair.
Or a Paul movement.
Yeah. I remember him. He turned up at Dennis Bergkamp testimonial, didn't he? I remember that.
He did, yeah.
He did, yeah.
It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, yeah, you had
He's
that
only
one.
got next. He's Dutch as well. That's the only reason he got there.
Well, but no, because he's Dutch and he did set up Dennis's first goal, as Melvyn said. So he probably deserves a brief appearance, didn't he? I suppose. But yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah, that was a strange moment in Arsenal's history, probably. Tom says, I'd never take back Bruce Rioch. I don't know what was going on there. No, well, who does know what was going on there? He was awful. Well, I mean, he certainly, you know, it was a difficult time for him, I guess, and it was never going to work out, was it? And luckily, he didn't stay very long, and we got someone a little bit better afterwards, which was nice, wasn't it, for a little while? So anyway, we're talking about the predictions. So last week, then it was a strange week for predictions actually, because there was a few strange results that even Adam and Melvyn, who generally predict a few strange results, didn't necessarily do so well. Funny enough, we all got the same points. We all got 5 points last week, which wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad, I guess, considering some of the results that we had. None of us got any points for the Arsenal game because we all predicted a draw, and of course we know what happened there, so that didn't work out too well. But yeah, so the scores on the doors at the moment are. I'm in third place with 62. Adam's got 63 and Melvyn's got 68. So he's still winning, and he is still just as far ahead as he was before because we all drew. But yeah, we need to do a bit better because Melvyn's the only one who's consistently getting decent results. So we'll start with this week. Obviously, the first game of the weekend is, we know, our game again. We're kicking off first again. Arsenal at home to Newcastle. Melvyn, I know you're so confident. What's it going to be, 8-0? Is that what you're going for?
No, 3-1.
3-1. Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Didn't say that, did I?
Yeah. No, I kind of gathered you meant us, yeah. Adam, what are you thinking at Newcastle?
I've got the same score, 3-1.
Yeah, we always do that, don't we? Seriously, we do a lot.
We do, you know, well, to be fair, I mean, like, I could just be following you because you're doing a lot better, but then that would be defeating the object. But no, we do tend to go on the same ones.
Obviously not enough because Melvyn's winning, so you obviously don't copy him quite enough, do you? You need to copy him a bit more, maybe, and then you do better. Dawsey, what are you thinking, Newcastle?
I don't know why I do this because I don't do it every week, so I'm miles behind you lot.
Yeah, you are, but go on. You do pretty well normally when you're on.
All right, 2-0.
2-0, okay. I've gone 2-0 as well, actually, just because I just feel that's...
I think we need to start calculating Dawsey's now because I think that he has some strong ones.
I've got them all written down. Every week he's played, he's won most of the weeks he's played actually. But
I don't think we ought to have Dawsey at all in it actually.
I'm always getting worried now. Ryan says 4-0. Well, why not 4-0? That'd be nice. It will get our goal difference back to 0 anyway, so that'd be good. And Russ has gone 3-0, which means we still have a minus goal difference. So there you go. Right, so the second game is going to be Crystal Palace at home to Aston Villa, which actually could be quite an interesting game. Palace doing well. Villa with, obviously, Stevie G won his first game. Melvyn, what are you thinking? Palace against Villa?
Palace to win 2-1.
Palace to win 2-1. Okay, they're on a good run, actually. Palace haven't lost for ages, so that wouldn't be a surprise. Adam, what are you thinking? Is Gerrard going to get another win?
No, going to be a draw. 2-2.
Oh, 2-2. Lovely. Good stuff. Dawsey, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking a draw as well, but I'm going 1-1.
Okay, well, I've gone 2-2 as well, actually. Palace have had a few 2-2s. I just think that might be what it is. I think Gerrard will stay unbeaten a bit longer. Now, this is a game I'm quite interested to get your views on, actually. Liverpool at home to Southampton, obviously. What Liverpool did to us last week. I mean, Southampton got a draw at Man City. They can be quite difficult to break down. What are we thinking, Melvyn? Liverpool against Southampton?
I'm going 4-0 again, Liverpool.
4-0?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm going for it.
Okay.
I can see the headline, Liverpool do the same as last week.
Well, it would be if it was 4-0. I don't know. What do you reckon, Adam? Southampton, right, Liverpool?
I think Liverpool will go on a little bit of a run now. 3-0. I've gone 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay, 3-0. Very comfortable again. Dawsey, what are you thinking?
Oh, it's going to be kind. They've scored 19 goals in their last 5 games, so I reckon it's going to be 3-0.
3-0. Okay.
3.8, you were going to say, weren't you? Working it out.
Yeah. I've gone 2-1 to Liverpool. I think Southampton will probably do quite well because they're quite well organised team as it happens. So we'll have a look. We've had a couple of other score predictions. So Ryan said 3-1 to Palace against Villa, and he's gone 5-0 to Liverpool. So you all think it's going to be easy. Tom's going 4-0. I don't know if he means 4-0 to us or 4-0 to Liverpool against Southampton.
He's a good judge that time. I like him.
Yeah, well, he's going 4-0, which is good. So we'll see. The next game's another one that could be quite interesting. Norwich against Wolves. Norwich won 2 in a row, actually, which is unusual for them. And I'm sure Adam will predict them to win again. But Wolves are doing pretty well. They're big West Ham. What are you thinking, Melvyn? Norwich home to Wolves?
I'm going for the 2-2 here.
Oh, a 2-2. Okay. Adam, what are you thinking? I know he's going to win again. You predicted him to win 2 weeks in a row. Can you get it right 3 times in a row?
I just want to point out I'm not a closet Norwich fan. Just to get that out, despite the yellow tonight as well. Draw this week, 1-1.
A 1-1 draw for Norwich against Wolves. Okay. What are you thinking, Dawsey?
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Norwich win.
Oh, Dawsey's gone for the Norwich win this week. Someone always predicts a Norwich win. It's usually Adam, but it's Dawsey this week. Ryan's gone 3-1 to Wolves. He thinks Wolves will let it away. And I've actually gone 1-1 as well. I just think Norwich are doing pretty well at the minute, and Wolves are the draw specialists. So I won't be surprised with that one. Again, I think there's a lot of interesting games this week. Brighton at home to Leeds. Leeds have kind of picked up a little bit. I know they lost last week, but and Brighton are doing really well, as we know. So what are you thinking, Melvyn? Brighton at home to Leeds?
I'm thinking Leeds must be so despondent after losing to Spurs after their first half performance. I think they can just be, their heads will be down. Brighton 2, Leeds 1.
Brighton 2, Leeds 1. Okay. Adam, what are you thinking that one?
I think a home win, but I've only gone 1-0. Very tight. I don't think either team scored that many.
Okay. Ryan in the chat's gone 1-1. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Brighton, Leeds?
I'm on the same page as Ryan, 1-1.
Okay, 1-1. I've actually gone 2-1 to Brighton. I just think they'll just shade that, but I think Leeds will put up a good fight. Another game, 2 teams that aren't getting many results recently. Brentford at home to Everton. They're both capable of playing well and winning games, but they haven't managed to do much lately. What are you thinking, Melvyn? Brentford versus Everton?
I'm going for a 2-0 win for Brentford.
Oh, a 2-0 for Brentford. Okay, they haven't won for a while. That will give them a good boost. Adam, what are you thinking, Brentford, Everton?
I've got exactly the same as Melvyn. 2-0 Brentford.
Okay, wow. Dawsey, what are you thinking?
2-0 Brentford.
0-0. 0-0.
0-0, really? Brentford 0-0. They're the team that scored the most goals.
0-0.
Okay, well, that'd be their first 0-0, I think, if it was 0-0. Having said that, I just said Brentford scored the most goals. I've actually gone 2-0 to Everton because I think Everton are due a win, and Brentford aren't picking up results lately. I think their bubbles burst a little bit. Ryan's gone 3-2 to Brentford. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because their games have a lot of goals generally, but I think Everton might shade that one. Now we've got an interesting game. Burnley against Tottenham. Burnley in good form actually lately. They've really picked up. They're doing pretty well. And Tottenham, of course, are Tottenham, as we know. So what are we thinking, Melvyn? Burnley against Tottenham?
I nearly changed my mind, but I'm going to stick to what I first put, like you should do. Burnley 1, Spurs 1.
Okay, a draw. That's not too bad. Adam, what are you thinking, Burnley Spurs?
For the third time this week, I'm agreeing with Melvyn. 1-1.
Okay, 1-1. Fair enough. Dawsey?
Is he behind me?
Yeah.
Is Adam sitting behind me?
I think he must be. He's copying your papers, Melvyn. That's what he's doing.
I'm in the other room.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I don't want to say this, but I think Spurs might nick it 1-0.
Let's
Oh,
go and ruin it.
Dawsey, what are you doing? Tom's gone Burnley 5-0, which we like. And Ryan's gone 100-0 to Burnley. So there you go. I've actually gone 2-1
Well,
to
this was
Burnley.
supposed to be sensible channel.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the 5-0 to Burnley is fairly sensible. I don't know about 100-0. I've gone 2-1 to Burnley just because I want them to win. So I don't often want Burnley to win, but I do today. And actually, Ryan's changed his mind. He said 2-1 to Burnley as well. So there you go. That's his serious prediction for that one. And Tom says, "Oh, Dawsey, I thought we were friends." Predicting Tottenham to win.
I hope I'm wrong.
In fact, I don't think I'm trying to remember. I'll have to check all the other scores. I don't think anybody's ever predicted a Tottenham win before, ever, all season. So Dawsey's created a first there for the channel this season. So
Not in my
We're
religion.
about 30 points behind you lot, so
well, hopefully you'll be 32 behind after that game. You get it wrong.
yeah. I'll take it. If it means they lose, I'll take it.
Exactly. Right, okay, we've got Leicester against Watford, of course, the Ranieri derby, I suppose you could call it. Leicester home to Watford. Melvyn, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going Leicester 1, Watford 2. This is my way. Yeah, pull that one out. Yeah.
Well, no, Watford they're playing pretty well lately, to be fair. They've picked up under Ranieri. That wouldn't necessarily be a surprise. Leicester can't win at the minute. So, Adam, what are you thinking, Leicester, Watford?
Yeah, you're right. I was actually initially thinking that Watford might get a result, but now I think Leicester can't continue losing at home. You know, they've got to turn that around. So 2-1 Leicester. I've gone
2-1 Leicester. Okay. Ryan in the chat's gone 2-1 to Watford like Melvyn. So there you go. Maybe Watford have got a lot of support at the minute. What are you thinking, Dawsey?
Yeah, 2-0 Leicester.
2-0 Leicester, yeah. I've gone 2-0 Leicester as well. I just think that Leicester will eventually win at home again. And if you can't beat Watford at home, then you probably don't deserve to be challenging anywhere near the top of the league there. Right, there's two more games. These two are big games, actually, probably the two biggest games of the weekend. The first one, Man City at home to West Ham. This could be a good game, I think. Two teams that are obviously going well this season, West Ham in particular. What are you thinking, Melvyn? What Man City at home to West Ham could be a good game, couldn't it?
2-0 to Man City.
2-0 to Man City. Wow. That was before you even knew they were playing. That was good. This is how we win 2-0 anyway. Adam, what are you thinking, Man City, West Ham? Can West Ham get a result there?
Have a guess.
2-0.
2-0.
You haven't got 2-0.
Yeah, seriously.
This is some coppling's going on here. We might have to get the adjudicator in to see what's happening. He's looking through your window, Melvyn. That's what it is.
Get away.
Get your curtains. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Man City, West Ham.
Funny enough, I've actually gone 2-0 as well.
What we got here? Tom's gone 3-2. I would say probably 3-2 to Man City probably, and Ryan's gone 2-2. I've actually gone 1-1. I think West Ham can get a draw actually there. I think they'll go for it because that's what they've done all season. So I'll go for 1-1 there. And the final game could be an interesting one. Obviously, Chelsea at home to Man United. Man United, their first Premier League game since they sacked Ollie. I know they won last night in the Champions League. And Chelsea at the minute are just, they're just playing well, aren't they? What are you thinking, Melvyn?
2-0 to Chelsea.
2-0 to Chelsea. Okay. Don't tell me Adam's gone 2-0 to Chelsea as well. Wow.
Everyone needs to have a look.
You're not going to gain any points on Melbourne if you keep predicting the same
No,
scores.
like I said,
That's amazing.
I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change what I've already got down. I can't do it. But
No, you stick with what you thought. You're just not going to pick many points up on him, mate. That's all, because you end up getting the same amount again. Dawsey, what are you thinking? Chelsea, Man United. Can Man United put the Ollie nightmare behind them and get a win?
No, 3-0.
3-0.
Straight.
Well, no, I mean, they're playing well enough, Chelsea. They just tend to, in the Premier League, they tend to get the job done, don't they? They don't go and overexert themselves generally. They get the job done and get the points. I've gone 2-0 Chelsea as well, actually, for the same reason. Ryan's gone 5-0 to Chelsea. Wow, that would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? And Tom says Chelsea will smash them 4-1, he says. So a few people predicting big Chelsea wins. Again, getting them, I know they haven't got a new manager, but getting rid of a manager sometimes makes a difference to a team. They did win the other night. But yeah, I think Chelsea will be too strong for Man United, as they're too strong for most teams at the minute. So yeah, but we'll see what happens there. So I say some good games this weekend, actually. Quite looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good games there. Difficult to predict. We'll see what happens there. And who knows? As long as Arsenal win, obviously we're first on again. We've been first quite a lot this season, haven't we? We played Friday nights, we played lunchtime Saturdays a few times. We seem to get the first game, which hasn't always gone in our favour generally. But we did win the last one, didn't we? Was it Leicester? Wasn't it? We won 2-0 Leicester, didn't we? That was the early game. So let's hope we can follow that up with another victory, which would be nice. As you said, it could if West Ham don't pick up a result, we could be level on points with West Ham in the top 4, which we would have thought that a few weeks ago. So onwards and upwards, I guess, for Arsenal at the minute. Let's hope so anyway. And of course, Newcastle still without a win. I wonder who that win's going to come against then, Adam. You think they're going to win eventually?
It'd be weird if they didn't. I mean, I don't think it's ever happened where a team in the top flight has never won a game. But, you'd think that they'd get it this side of Christmas, wouldn't you? Well,
I mean, it'd be interesting. Obviously, January they can spend some money, so we'll see if they haven't won a game by the turn of the year. I'm pretty sure they'll win some more in the second half of the season when they buy about 10 players. Ryan said there Chelsea battered Juve 4-0. Yeah, they did, and Juve are better than Man United at the moment. Well, I suppose that's a reason to go for 5-0, I guess. And Ryan says, is Eddie Howe going to be in isolation still on Saturday? I'm not sure actually. I don't think it's been announced whether he can travel or not, so we'll see. If he's on the touchline, I don't think that will make a difference to some degree. I'm not sure what difference it will make. Tom says there, 28th of December and 1st of January, we are 12:30 kickoff. Yeah, we are. Yeah, another 2. There's a Man City game, isn't it, on New Year's Day at 12:30? That's going to be fun, isn't it? Early kickoff on New Year's Day at home to Man City. What a great way to see the new year that's going to be. But anyway, you never know. We might pull off a shock and get a draw or something. We'll see. Anyway, thanks a lot to you guys again for coming on. So obviously we had to be on Wednesday this week due to other people being busy on a Tuesday, but we will try and get back to Tuesdays again more regularly if we can, as if it suits everybody. Are Tuesdays generally okay for you guys, or would Wednesdays generally be better?
Generally they're good for me. Yeah, this week no, because I had randomly my firm's Christmas party last night on a Tuesday in November. Obviously,
why not have a Christmas party on a Tuesday in November? Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, generally Tuesday's always pretty good. So
okay, well we'll maybe go back to Tuesdays because I think Tuesdays perhaps works better anyway. But anyway, we'll see. So yeah, obviously Melvyn, thank you very much again for coming on as always. Fantastic. Where can people find you?
As it says, Melvyn, the only way is Arsenal. Marks, thanks very much, gentlemen. Really enjoyed being in the back 4 again. Yeah,
the famous back 4 back again. And we kept another clean sheet, which is good. So we'll have to maybe stick with this back 4. It seems to be working. Adam, what about yourself? Thanks for coming on again. Where can people find you?
Good to be back. Adam 79 2001. Adam, always Arsenal.
Fantastic. And of course, Dawsey as well with his long sleeved Arsenal shirt. I don't see many of them around, so it's nice to be a little bit different, which is cool. And where can people find you?
I love a long sleeve shirt. Prefer a long sleeve to a short sleeve. Just on my Twitter page, you can see it there at Dawsey2801. But yeah, good to be back in the mix and back with you boys as well. I'll try and Tuesdays are a bit tricky for me. I've just signed up to the football team here and they train Tuesdays. But I don't go every week, so need to mix it up. But
exactly. Well, what's a train though, isn't you? Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't train on perfection, can you? That's why I don't know why Arsenal put their training videos on all the time, because why do they keep training when they're that good? Tom says I hope the trains are running. Obviously, the New Year's Day game, yeah, it'd be interesting if they are. I expect they will be. This might be a skeleton service, I suppose. And Ryan says, yeah, same. I need the Piccadilly line to be running on New Year's Day. For the City match, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'll put trains on for the game being on, I would imagine, but you might get like one train an hour or something. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, not the greatest time to kick off on New Year's Day, is it? But anyway, I'm sure it'll cure your hangover when we beat Man City, though, won't it? So that'll be good. I'm sure we will. So yeah, thanks to you guys for that. It's fantastic again, as always. Great to have you guys on and talk about the Arsenal. And it's not the greatest result last weekend, but we've had a good run, and I'm sure we will, we'll go on another run now, hopefully starting on Saturday, because losing to Newcastle wouldn't be a lot of fun for me at work on Monday. So No, I wouldn't enjoy that at all. So I'm just really hoping that we do win the game quite easily, because I'll probably have to go into hiding. Actually, I'll have to have the week off work if we lose. Definitely, their first win of the season, that'd be terrible for me. So we definitely don't need that. Tom says, "Great show, guys. Sorry I rocked up late. No problem at all. As long as you're here, eventually, that's all that matters. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So as long as you're at the end, that's what matters." And you finished the show, which is good. So make sure you guys are watching as well. If you haven't done, please give it a like before you go. Coming up on the channel, I'm actually doing a lot of stuff on Newcastle channels next couple of nights. I'm on the Toon review tomorrow. That's 8:30, looking ahead to the Newcastle game, and also I'll be on Friday. I'm on the channel Newcastle 1 as well. On Friday at 7:30. So I'm doing stuff on other channels coming up to the game at the weekend, and of course on Saturday I will do a watch along of the game, which will be good. So that'll be, I'm going to be struggling. I'll play football on a Saturday morning, so I'll have to rush back for the starts. Hopefully I should be in for the kickoff anyway at 12:30 for that game. So loads coming up on the channel this weekend, as always. Loads of good stuff coming. I'll probably throw a few other little bits and pieces in the mix as well. And then we'll all be back next week, probably next Tuesday, with a Tuesday club or Tuesday clinic rather, or maybe Wednesday if that has to be when it is. But we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so thanks to all you guys for watching. Thanks to you guys for coming on. Melvyn, Adam and Dawsey, as always, a pleasure. And I say we'll see you all very, very soon. And I'll be back on Saturday for the watch along. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners. Come on. Come on. Alrighty, you're up, and you're